In a world where hope flies on a red cape and justice lurks in shadows, where gods walk among mortals and the impossible is merely Tuesday, there exists a delicate balance. The Justice League stands as Earth's shield against threats beyond comprehension. They have faced alien invasions, demonic incursions, and reality-bending catastrophes. They have stood against Darkseid himself and emerged bloodied but victorious. Yet on this ordinary afternoon in Metropolis, as the sun bathes the city in golden light and citizens go about their lives beneath gleaming skyscrapers, none of them, not Superman, not Batman, not even the cosmic entities watching from beyond, could have predicted what was about to tear through the fabric of their universe. If you want more explosive crossover stories that pit the greatest warriors against DC's mightiest heroes, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment with the matchup you want to see next. The multiverse is calling, and these battles are just beginning. The sky above Metropolis didn't darken, it ignited. A tear in reality itself ripped open at 30,000 feet, crackling with energy that registered on every satellite, every sensor, every mystical ward across the planet. In the watchtower, alarms screamed. In the Batcave, monitors flooded with data. In Themyscira, the oracles gasped as their visions shattered. Something was coming through, something that didn't belong. The tear expanded, bleeding purple and black energy that tasted of distant stars and foreign physics. And then he emerged. Not a meteor, not a ship, a man. Falling like a golden comet, arms crossed, face twisted in absolute fury. His armor was battle-scarred. His hair defied gravity in a widow's peak that spoke of royal lineage, and his eyes burned with the kind of rage that could immolate worlds. Vegeta, prince of all Saiyans, crashed into Metropolis at terminal velocity. The impact crater measured 3 city blocks in diameter. The shockwave shattered windows for miles, flipped cars like toys, and sent a mushroom cloud of debris skyward that could be seen from Gotham. Vegeta stood at the center of the devastation, smoke rising from his white gloves as he slowly uncrossed his arms. Citizens scrambled away, screaming, some trapped beneath rubble, others frozen in shock at the figure radiating menace from every pore. He surveyed his surroundings with cold calculation and undisguised contempt. Primitive architecture, weak energy signatures. This world reeked of softness, of beings who had never truly fought for survival. His pod's navigation had malfunctioned during interdimensional travel. Bulma would hear about this and deposited him in this backward dimension. Vegeta's ki sense swept outward, searching for power levels worth his attention, and found nothing but insects. Pathetic. He was about to take flight and search for whoever ruled this miserable planet when he felt it. A presence approaching at impossible speed. Finally, something with actual power. Superman arrived in less than 3 seconds, cape billowing as he descended into the crater with his hands raised in the universal gesture of peace. His blue suit was immaculate, the red S-shield on his chest catching the sunlight, his expression concerned but controlled. He'd seen the readings. The energy signature from this being was off every chart, registering power levels that rivaled Darkseid's avatars. But Clark Kent had learned long ago that not every powerful being was an enemy. Sometimes they were just lost, confused, or afraid. "I don't know where you're from," Superman began, his voice calm and reassuring, scanning for injuries among the civilians with his X-ray vision while keeping his attention on the newcomer. but you've caused a lot of damage. People are hurt. I'm here to help, but I need you to power down and... Vegeta's laugh cut through the air like a blade. It was harsh, mocking, utterly devoid of humor. The Saiyan prince's lips curled into a sneer as he looked Superman up and down, analyzing this fool in the ridiculous costume who dared speak to royalty with such casual familiarity. Power down. Vegeta's voice dripped with venom and aristocratic disdain. You address the Prince of all Saiyans as if I were some common soldier, as if I answer to you. His aura flickered white around his body, dust and debris beginning to levitate from the sheer pressure of his controlled ki. I sense your energy, and while you're stronger than the insects cowering around us, you're nothing compared to what I've faced. Nothing compared to what I am. Superman's expression hardened, his jaw setting as he realized diplomacy was failing. He could feel the energy radiating from this warrior, the barely contained violence, the pride that bordered on madness. He'd met beings like this before. Mongol, Zod, warriors who measured worth only in strength and viewed compassion as weakness. His X-ray vision revealed something extraordinary. This being's cellular structure was similar to Kryptonians but fundamentally different, denser somehow, and his body contained energy that wasn't solar-based but something else entirely. Something his Kryptonian biology didn't recognize. I'm giving you one chance, Superman said, his voice dropping to that tone that had made Darkseid pause, that carried the weight of someone who could juggle planets but chose gentleness. Stand down. Let me help these people. Then we can talk about getting you home. Vegeta's response was instantaneous. He moved. One moment he was standing in the crater. The next his fist connected with Superman's jaw, with a crack that echoed across Metropolis like thunder. Superman rocketed backward, crashing through a skyscraper, not into, the building exploding around him in a shower of glass and steel, and continuing for 12 more blocks before he managed to arrest his momentum, hovering in the air with blood trickling from his lip. Actual blood. His hand came away red as he touched his mouth, his eyes widening slightly. When was the last time someone had made him bleed with a single punch? Doomsday, Darkseid's true form? This warrior, whoever he was, had just hit him harder than most beings in this universe were capable of. Superman's eyes began to glow red, heat building behind them. If this warrior wanted a fight, so be it. Back in the crater, Vegeta was already airborne, white aura blazing around him like a star going nova. His grin was pure Saiyan battle lust, all teeth and anticipation. Finally, something in this dimension that could take a hit. The prince shot forward, closing the distance between them in a microsecond, and Metropolis trembled as gods went to war. They collided 3 miles above Metropolis with the force of colliding stars. The sonic boom shattered every remaining window in a 5-mile radius. Car alarms shrieked in unison, and the shockwave sent civilians tumbling. Superman and Vegeta exchanged blows at speeds that human eyes couldn't track, each impact creating thunderclaps that rolled across the city like artillery fire. Superman's combat training from his Kryptonian heritage and years fighting Earth's greatest threats met Vegeta's lifetime of brutal Saiyan warfare, and neither gave an inch. The Kryptonian blocked a roundhouse kick that would have decapitated mountains, countered with a palm strike that sent Vegeta spinning through the air, but the Saiyan prince recovered instantly, firing a ki blast that exploded against Superman's chest and actually pushed him backward. Clark's eyes widened. That energy, whatever it was, had hurt. Not severely, but enough to matter. He retaliated with heat vision, twin beams of concentrated solar energy that could melt through virtually anything. But Vegeta crossed his arms and took the blast head-on, his armor scorching but his skin barely marked, grinning through the assault like a madman. When the beams ceased, Vegeta's aura intensified, golden sparks beginning to dance through the white energy surrounding him, and Superman realized with growing concern that this warrior was just warming up. "Is that your best, Kryptonian?" Vegeta snarled, the word Kryptonian somehow known to him through some cosmic translation or universal constant. "I've been hit harder by children, by weaklings who wouldn't survive 5 seconds on planet Vegeta." He blurred forward, landing a devastating combination to Superman's ribs, each strike precisely calculated to cause maximum damage. The Saiyan prince's fighting style honed through genocide and survival, through watching his people slaughtered and clawing his way to power through sheer murderous determination. Superman grunted with each impact, his invulnerable body actually registering pain, and he knew he needed to end this before more people died. He grabbed Vegeta mid-strike, his grip like a vice, and accelerated upward at maximum velocity. They broke the sound barrier, then Mach 10, then Mach 50, the atmosphere screaming around them as Superman carried Vegeta into the stratosphere where their battle couldn't harm innocents. But Vegeta wasn't some helpless passenger. He drove his elbow into Superman's temple, once, twice, 3 times, and on the 4th impact, Superman's grip loosened just enough for the Saiyan to wrench free, floating in the thin air with his aura providing whatever atmosphere he needed, his smirk widening. "Running away already? Taking us where the weaklings can't see you lose?" Vegeta's mocking tone struck deeper than his fists, hitting that part of Superman that had always worried about his power, about what he could become if he ever truly cut loose. "You're strong, I'll grant you that. Stronger than most of the trash I've encountered, but you fight like someone afraid of his own strength, like someone who's never had to kill or be killed. That hesitation will destroy you." And before Superman could respond, before he could explain that strength without compassion was just brutality, that power came with responsibility. Vegeta thrust both hands forward and roared a single word that would echo in Superman's nightmares. "Gallic gun!" Purple energy erupted from Vegeta's palms, a beam of concentrated destruction that made his previous attacks look like firecrackers. The blast was wider than a city block, bright enough to be seen from the ground as a second sun, and it slammed into Superman with the force of a nuclear arsenal. Clark screamed, actually screamed, as the energy seared his cells, cooked his skin despite his invulnerability, and sent him plummeting back toward Earth, trailing smoke and desperation. He hit the Metropolis Bay with an impact that created a tsunami, displaced millions of gallons of water, and left a crater in the bedrock 50 feet deep. Vegeta descended slowly, deliberately, savoring his apparent victory as Superman dragged himself from the water, his suit scorched, his cape in tatters, his face showing something the prince recognized instantly, the dawning realization that he might actually lose. The Saiyan landed on the crater's edge, arms crossed, radiating smug superiority. "Get up, Kryptonian. I know you're not finished. Your power level dropped, but you're still conscious, still able to fight. Show me what you're really capable of before I reduce this entire city to ash and move on to finding worthy opponents elsewhere in this dimension." Superman rose, water streaming from his body, and for just a moment, something dangerous flickered in his eyes. Something that made Vegeta's grin widen further because, yes, there it was, the real warrior beneath the Boy Scout exterior. Clark drew in a deep breath, his body absorbing solar radiation at an accelerated rate, healing the damage, and when he looked up at Vegeta, the blood was gone from his lip, but the determination in his expression had crystallized into something harder. "You want to see what I'm capable of? You want me to stop holding back?" Superman's voice was quiet, but it carried across the bay like thunder. "Fine, but know this. I was trying to save you from yourself." And Superman moved. Not at the speed he used for rescues or patrols, but at combat velocity that bent physics, that approached what Flash could do when desperate, and his fist caught Vegeta completely off guard, lifting the Saiyan prince off his feet and sending him rocketing across Metropolis Bay, through Hobbs Bay, and into the Gotham City limits where he cratered into Crime Alley with enough force to register on the Richter scale. Vegeta pushed himself up, spitting blood for the first time since arriving on this universe, and his expression transformed from smug superiority to something far more dangerous, genuine excitement. The Saiyan prince wiped the blood from his mouth, looked at it, and then threw his head back and laughed, a sound of pure manic joy that echoed through Gotham's twisted streets. "Finally, you've been holding back this entire time. Yes, yes, this is what I wanted." His aura exploded outward, white energy becoming blinding, and his hair began to stand even more on end, golden light seeping through the white like dawn, breaking through storm clouds. Superman was already there, already throwing another devastating punch, but this time Vegeta caught it, his hand wrapped around Superman's fist, and the Saiyan's eyes locked onto the Kryptonians with manic intensity. "My turn to stop holding back, Kryptonian." And Vegeta's transformation began. His aura turned pure gold, his hair shifted from black to blonde in a flash of light that momentarily blinded every camera, every witness, and his power level exploded upward by a factor of 50. His muscles didn't bulk excessively but compacted, refined. His eyes shifted to teal, and the raw energy radiating from his body created a crater within the crater, the sheer pressure of his Super Saiyan form forcing Superman to his knees. The Man of Steel, the being who had moved planets and fought gods, was being driven down by the presence of something his universe had never encountered. A warrior race's ultimate transformation, power refined through genocide and pride, and the absolute refusal to accept limits. Vegeta released Superman's fist and backhanded him almost casually, the impact sending the Kryptonian through 17 buildings at a straight line, each structure exploding like it was made of paper. The Super Saiyan Prince floated upward, golden aura crackling with lightning, and his voice carried across both cities with supernatural clarity. "This is the power of a Super Saiyan. This is what separates legends from pretenders." In the Watchtower, every Justice League member still on duty stood frozen before the monitors, watching two energy signatures that defied their equipment's ability to properly measure. Wonder Woman's hand gripped her lasso tight enough to leave impressions. The Flash had stopped vibrating entirely, his usual nervous energy replaced by stunned silence. Green Lantern's ring flickered uncertainly, the construct he'd been forming dissipating as he tried to comprehend what he was witnessing. Cyborg's systems were screaming warnings, his mother box connection flooding him with data that essentially translated to one message repeated endlessly: catastrophic threat, planetary extinction, event imminent, evacuate Earth immediately. And in the Batcave, Bruce Wayne watched the satellite feed with analytical precision, his mind already working through scenarios, contingencies, and the cold mathematical certainty that if this continued, there wouldn't be an East Coast by nightfall. He pressed a button on his console, his voice perfectly calm despite the apocalypse unfolding on his screens. "Alfred, prep the Hellbat armor and call in every favor we have with the Green Lantern Corps, and get me everything on dimensional rifts in the last 24 hours. He paused, watching as the Golden Warrior caught Superman's desperate charge and drove him into the Earth hard enough to create a shockwave visible from space. "We're going to need backup that doesn't exist yet." Superman pulled himself from the Gotham streets, his hearing now filled with the sounds of thousands injured, buildings collapsing, and that same mocking laughter cutting through it all. Vegeta hovered above the destruction, his golden aura pulsing like a second sun, and the worst part wasn't the power. Clark had felt power before, from Darkseid, from Doomsday, from threats that made galaxies tremble. The worst part was the control. This warrior wasn't rampaging mindlessly. Every movement was calculated, every strike precisely measured to cause maximum damage while conserving energy. This was a trained killer, operating at peak efficiency, and he was toying with Superman like a cat, with prey it hadn't decided whether to eat yet. Clark's X-ray vision swept the area. 43 people trapped in rubble within his immediate vicinity, 200 more in critical condition from the shock waves, and that number was climbing with every second this fight continued. He couldn't win a prolonged battle. Not against this transformed state, but he didn't need to win. He needed to contain, to minimize casualties, to buy time for the League to arrive with a plan. Superman's eyes began glowing red again, but this time he didn't aim at Vegeta. He carved through the buildings about to collapse, creating controlled demolitions that fell away from civilians, simultaneously using his freeze breath to create ice structures supporting damaged infrastructure, all while keeping his attention locked on the Saiyan prince who watched this display with something approaching curiosity. "You're wasting time saving insects when you should be fighting me at full strength," Vegeta observed, his tone genuinely puzzled rather than mocking. "Do you not understand how battle works? The strong survive, the weak perish. And worrying about collateral damage is how warriors die stupidly." He fired a casual Kai blast toward a hospital that was already evacuating, not from cruelty but from practical demonstration, and Superman intercepted it with his body, the explosion washing over his invulnerable form while the building behind him remained intact. Vegeta's eyes narrowed, his tactical mind reassessing. This Kryptonian's power level wasn't increasing. He was still operating at the same output, but he was dividing his attention between combat and rescue, essentially fighting at half capacity by choice. "You're deliberately handicapping yourself. Why?" "These creatures mean nothing. They're not even your species. They can't even fly under their own power or survive in space. Why do you protect them?" And for the first time since transforming, Vegeta actually waited for an answer, hovering in his golden aura with something like genuine interest flickering beneath the battle lust. Superman stood in the ruins, his cape gone entirely now, his suit torn and scorched. But his eyes held steady on Vegeta with the same moral certainty that had defined him since the Kents found a baby in a field and decided to raise him as their own. Because that's what heroes do. Because every life matters, regardless of power level or species. Because the measure of strength isn't how much you can destroy, it's how much you can protect. He rose slowly into the air, his aura of solar energy beginning to match Vegeta's golden glow, not in power, but in intensity of purpose. You want to know why I fight at half capacity? Because at full capacity, people die, cities burn, and I will never let that happen as long as I draw breath. So if you want to continue this fight, we take it to space, away from innocence, or you go through me, and I promise you, Saiyan prince or not, I will not fall easily. The declaration hung in the air between them, and for a long moment, Vegeta simply stared, his expression unreadable. Then something shifted. Not his power level, which remained astronomically high, but his posture, which relaxed slightly, arms uncrossing to hang at his sides. The Saiyan prince's laugh this time wasn't mocking, but carried a strange note of respect. You remind me of someone. An idiot I know who fights with the same backwards philosophy, who holds back against enemies who want him dead, who protects weaklings instead of culling them from the herd. Vegeta's expression grew complex, memory and present colliding behind his teal eyes. Kakarot, Goku, as he insists on being called, the low-class Saiyan warrior who became stronger than me through that exact same ridiculous compassion you're displaying. I hated him for it, still do most days, but I respect it now because somehow, impossibly, his way works. He powered down slightly, the golden aura dimming, though not extinguishing, his hair remaining blonde, but the crushing pressure easing enough that Gotham stopped actively crumbling. Fine. Space, away from the insects. But know this, Kryptonian. I'm still going to beat you within an inch of your life because that's how Saiyans determine worth. And you've earned the right to a proper battle. Superman nodded slowly, relief flooding through him even as his tactical mind raced. This warrior had weaknesses beyond the physical. Pride, honor, a code that could be reasoned with even if it couldn't be traditionally negotiated. That was something, that was leverage. But before either could move, before they could take their battle beyond Earth's atmosphere, reality bent. A boom tube opened in the sky above Gotham, that distinctive interdimensional portal that carried the stench of apocalypse, of fire pits and broken spirits and technological horror merged with divine power. Both Superman and Vegeta tensed, their temporary truce forgotten as they turned toward this new threat, and what emerged made Superman's blood run cold. Not Darkseid himself, thank God not yet, but his herald. Kalibak the Cruel, the tyrant's firstborn son, descended with his beta club cracklings with energy, his orange skin covered in battle scars, his tusked face split in a vicious grin. Behind him came 50 parademons, their wings beating in terrible unison, and behind them, gliding with predatory grace, came Granny Goodness herself, matron of Darkseid's orphanages, torturer of worlds, and one of Apocalypse's most dangerous generals. Her voice, saccharine sweet despite the menace beneath, echoed across both cities. My, What delightful energy signatures we detected. Lord Darkseid sends his regards and his curiosity, Superman. He wishes to know about your golden friend, and the Master doesn't ask politely. Kalibak raised his club, targeting not Superman but Vegeta with obvious intent. New meat. Granny, can I break this one? Please. Vegeta's response was immediate and visceral. His power levels spiked higher, his aura exploding outward with killing intent so thick it tasted like copper, and his voice carried the weight of royalty so absolute it momentarily gave even Kalibak pause. You dare, you hideous creature, dare target the Prince of all Saiyans as if I were prey, as if you had any right to address me at all. His eyes locked onto the boom tube, into the realm beyond, and his ki sense pierced through dimensions to touch something on the other side, something immense and terrible and powerful enough to make him actually smile with anticipation. I sense him, your Darkseid, a power level worthy of my attention. Finally. He glanced at Superman with something that might have been respect or might have been challenge. Your planet's problems just became interesting, Kryptonian. I'm taking these fools back to their master and teaching this Darkseid while you don't interrupt a Saiyan's battle. Superman's mind raced through 1,000 scenarios in the microsecond before chaos erupted, each one ending in catastrophe. Vegeta against Apocalypse forces was one nightmare, but Vegeta potentially allying with Darkseid, or inadvertently leading the tyrant to discover new dimensions to conquer, was exponentially worse. He opened his mouth to warn the Saiyan prince about what he was suggesting, about the danger Darkseid represented not just as a physical threat, but as a conceptual one, as tyranny made manifest. But Kalibak had never been known for patience. The massive new god roared and swung his beta club with enough force to shatter moons, the weapon's energy field crackling with apocalyptic technology designed to hurt even Kryptonians. And it connected with Vegeta's crossed arms in a thunderclap that shattered every remaining window in Gotham. For exactly half a second, Kalibak grinned in triumph. Then Vegeta's eyes met his, and the Saiyan prince's expression carried the cold certainty of someone who had just been given permission to commit violence. Vegeta caught the beta club with one hand, his fingers wrapping around the weapon's shaft, and Kalibak's grin died as he realized his strike had been stopped cold by this golden warrior who looked positively delighted by the assault. Thank you, Vegeta said softly, his voice carrying more menace in its quietness than Kalibak's roar had in its volume. I was worried I'd have to hold back with Superman's insects watching. But you're invaders. You came here looking for a fight. No moral complications. No restraint necessary. He ripped the beta club from Kalibak's grip like taking candy from a child, and drove it into the new god's stomach with such force that Darkseid's firstborn son folded completely, his eyes bulging. And Vegeta wasn't finished. The Saiyan spun, using Kalibak's own weapon to bat him into his own parademon forces like a projectile, the impact atomizing a dozen of the flying monstrosities instantly and sending Kalibak cratering through 3 abandoned warehouses before coming to rest in a groaning heap. The remaining parademons swarmed as one, their claws extended, their shrieks filling the air with sonic assault, and Vegeta's laugh echoed above them all as he thrust his hands wide. Big Bang attack! Golden energy spheres erupted from his palms, each one precise and devastating. and the parademon swarm simply ceased to exist, erased in flashes of light that left after images burned into retinas across Gotham. 37 apocalyptian shock troops that had conquered worlds, that had broken civilizations, that represented the military might of a god, reduced to scattered atoms in less than 3 seconds. Granny Goodness's saccharine expression finally cracked, her ancient eyes widening as she reassessed the threat before her, and her hand moved to the mother box at her belt, already preparing retreat protocols, because Granny hadn't survived millennia by being brave, only cunning. But Vegeta was already there, having crossed the distance faster than her new god reflexes could track, his hand wrapped around her throat, lifting her into the air as his golden aura washed over her wrinkled features. "No," he said simply. "You're going to take me to Darkseid. Now. Or I'm going to see if new gods can survive without their heads, and then I'm going to fly through that portal anyway and burn everything until someone points me toward your master." Superman moved to intervene because despite everything, despite the invasion, Granny Goodness was technically a prisoner of war now, and execution wasn't justice, but a hand caught his shoulder. Batman stood beside him in full armor, having arrived via Batwing during the chaos, his white eyes unreadable behind the cowl, but his voice carrying absolute authority. "Don't! Not yet. Look at the portal." And Superman did, his vision piercing through the boom tube's dimensional barriers to see what waited on the other side, and his enhanced Kryptonian brain struggled to process it. Apocalypse in full military array. Thousands of parademons forming aerial battalions. The female Furies assembled in combat formation. Darkseid hovering near his torture devices with anticipation, and seated on his throne of screaming stone, surrounded by fire pits that had consumed civilizations, was Darkseid himself, the true form that could shatter reality, constrained to an avatar that merely threatened planets, his eyes burning with Omega energy as he watched this golden warrior threaten his servant with the first genuine interest the tyrant had shown in centuries. "Let him through," Batman said quietly, his tactical mind already 10 steps ahead, already seeing the opportunity in the nightmare. If Vegeta fights Darkseid on Apocalypse, it keeps the battle away from Earth. And if either of them wins, we might actually survive the outcome. Granny Goodness, despite Vegeta's hand crushing her windpipe, managed a gurgling laugh that carried Dark Father's own approval. "Lord Darkseid bids you welcome, Golden Warrior. He has watched your battle with the Kryptonian, analyzed your power, and finds you sufficiently entertaining to warrant personal attention. Come to Apocalypse. Face a true god. Learn why the Master's name is spoken in terror across 1,000 worlds." Vegeta released her, letting the ancient new god drop to the ground gasping, and his smile was all Saiyan battle hunger, with none of his earlier calculated cruelty. This was different. This wasn't fighting for survival or pride or conquest. This was the pure joy of a warrior who had just been promised exactly what he craved. "Superman," Vegeta called without looking back, his eyes locked on the boom tube and what waited beyond. "If I'm not back in 1 hour, assume Darkseid killed me and mount whatever pathetic defense you can muster. But if I am back, you and I have unfinished business. Understood?" He didn't wait for confirmation before stepping through the portal, his golden aura flaring bright enough to rival the fire pits of Apocalypse itself, and the boom tube sealed behind him with finality that made Superman's stomach drop. In the sudden silence, with Gotham burning around them and Calibec groaning in his crater, and Granny Goodness teleporting away before Batman could restrain her properly, Superman turned to the Dark Knight with barely contained anxiety etched across his features. "Bruce, we just let an incredibly powerful, incredibly violent warrior walk directly into Darkseid's throne room, into a trap, into a situation where if either of them wins decisively, Earth becomes their next target. Tell me you have a plan." Batman was already moving, his cape billowing as he strode toward the Batwing, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who always had 17 plans and 12 of them were already in motion. "I have half a plan, which is better than nothing. Cyborgs opening a boom tube to the outskirts of Apocalypse in 90 seconds. Wonder Woman and the Flash are en route. Green Lanterns calling in reinforcements from OA. We're going after him, but we're going as backup, not rescue. Because Clark, whether we like it or not, that warrior might be the only thing standing between Earth and total annihilation right now." Superman nodded slowly, his hearing already stretching across dimensions to track Vegeta's energy signature as it blazed through Apocalypse like a comet through darkness, and he couldn't shake the feeling that Batman was right. The Saiyan Prince wasn't their enemy. Not really. He was a force of nature, a living weapon pointed temporarily at humanity's greatest threat, and the only question was whether anyone would survive the collision. On Apocalypse, Vegeta strode through the fire pits and slave quarters without a glance, his eyes locked on the massive structure ahead where he could feel that enormous power signature waiting with predatory patience. Parademons launched at him from every angle and were swatted aside like gnats, their weapons useless against his Super Saiyan form, their numbers meaningless against his Kai blasts that carved through their formations like divine judgment. The female Furies tried coordinated assault, and Vegeta broke through them in seconds, not even bothering to learn their names before leaving them broken and unconscious in his wake. Darkseid attempted some kind of neural torture device and had his machine exploded in his face, the scientist fleeing with his robes on fire and his calculations shattered. Nothing, absolutely nothing on Apocalypse could slow the Saiyan Prince's advance, and Darkseid watched it all from his throne with hands clasped and the barest hint of a smile touching his stone features. When Vegeta finally stood before the throne, golden aura crackling with barely restrained violence, the contrast was stunning. Warrior prince and tyrant god, pride versus power, finite strength against infinite ambition. Darkseid rose slowly, his massive form dwarfing even Vegeta's considerable presence, his voice resonating with the weight of conquered dimensions. "Welcome to Apocalypse, Saiyan. I am Darkseid. I am tyranny. I am the inevitable conclusion of all free will. And you, Golden Warrior, have just volunteered to learn why Superman trembles at my name." Vegeta's response to Darkseid's declaration was a sound somewhere between a laugh and a snarl, his teal eyes blazing with the kind of aggressive confidence that had defined his entire existence since birth. Superman trembles because he's soft, because he chains himself with morality and concern for insects beneath his power level. I am not Superman. I am Vegeta, Prince of all Saiyans, and I have faced down emperors, tyrants, and creatures that could destroy solar systems before breakfast. You're just another stepping stone toward proving my superiority over Kakarot. His aura intensified, golden lightning crackling through the energy field surrounding his body, and the very foundation of Darkseid's throne room began to crack under the pressure of his ki. So stop posturing and fight me, Stoneface, before I get bored and reduce this entire dimension to rubble just to see if you're hiding somewhere more interesting. Darkseid's expression didn't change. It never did, carved as it was from tyranny made flesh. But his eyes began to glow red with Omega energy, those terrible beams that didn't just kill, but erased victims from existence itself, removing them from history, from memory, from the very concept of having ever been. The beams lanced out without warning, zigzagging through space with impossible precision, tracking Vegeta's position with mathematical certainty, and the Saiyan prince moved. His combat speed in Super Saiyan form defied physics as he understood them, turning the Omega beams into a deadly game of three-dimensional chess as he dodged, weaved, and literally ran along the walls and ceiling of the throne room while Darkseid's erasure beams carved molten trails through his own palace, trying to catch their target. Too slow, Vegeta taunted, flipping backward as a beam passed within millimeters of his chest, his warrior instincts screaming warnings about what that energy would do if it connected. He could feel the wrongness of those beams, the way they interacted with reality differently than any ki attack or energy weapon he'd encountered. They weren't just destructive, they were conclusive, final in a way that transcended normal death, which meant not getting hit. Ever. Vegeta planted his feet on the wall and launched himself directly at Darkseid, his right fist cocked back and glowing with concentrated ki. And he drove it into the new god's jaw with every ounce of Super Saiyan strength he possessed. The impact created a shockwave that leveled everything in the throne room that wasn't Darkseid or Vegeta themselves, sent cracks spiderwebbing through Apocalypse foundations, and actually moved Darkseid's head to the side by approximately 3 inches. The tyrant's neck turned with the blow, his expression still unchanging, and when he looked back at Vegeta, his eyes held something that might have been approval or might have been the anticipation of breaking a new toy. Darkseid's hand moved faster than Vegeta expected, catching the Saiyan by the face and lifting him effortlessly, his grip like a vice forged from collapsed stars. Impressive. You possess power beyond most beings in this dimension. Your energy signature registers at levels that approach my own considerable might, but strength alone does not determine victory. Saiyan Prince. Darkseid slammed Vegeta into the floor with enough force to create a crater 20 feet deep, the impact momentarily disrupting the Super Saiyan's aura. And before Vegeta could recover, the tyrant's boot came down on his chest, pinning him with weight that seemed to multiply exponentially the longer it pressed. I have conquered 1,000 worlds, broken 1,000,000 wills. I have made warriors stronger than you, weep for death, and found only my continued dominance. I am not impressed by golden hair and violent tendencies. I am only interested in whether you can be broken, remade, and aimed at my enemies. His Omega beams fired at point-blank range, zigzagging to hit Vegeta from multiple angles simultaneously, and the Saiyan Prince's scream of rage and pain echoed across Apocalypse as reality-erasing energy seared his cells. But Vegeta had not survived Frieza's tyranny, his own death and resurrection, battles against beings that could atomize planets with a thought by being easily defeated. His pride, that core of Saiyan arrogance that bordered on insanity, flared hotter than Darkseid's Omega beams, and his power level spiked upward as he tapped into reserves born from pure refusal to submit. "Get off me!" Vegeta's ki exploded outward in a sphere of golden destruction that actually lifted Darkseid's boot, actually forced the new god backward 3 steps, and the Saiyan prince rose with his armor scorched, his skin showing actual burns from the Omega energy, but his expression more determined than ever. Blood trickled from his mouth, but he was grinning, that manic Saiyan battle grin that said he'd finally found an opponent worthy of his absolute maximum effort. "You want to see what I'm really capable of? You want to witness why the Saiyan race was feared across galaxies before that bastard Frieza destroyed us?" His hands came together at his side, energy gathering between his palms in a sphere of purple destruction that made the air itself scream, power compressing and condensing until it threatened to tear holes in dimensional barriers. Final flash! The beam erupted from Vegeta's hands, wider than Darkseid's throne room, a column of pure destructive energy that had atomized regenerating monsters, blown holes through perfect beings, and represented the absolute pinnacle of the Saiyan Prince's offensive capabilities. It caught Darkseid full in the chest and kept going, burning through the throne room wall, through 3 more chambers, through the outer wall of the palace, and into Apocalypse's perpetual twilight, where it carved a glowing scar across the hellscape visible from space. When the light faded, when the energy dissipated, and Vegeta stood panting from the expenditure, he stared at where Darkseid had been standing, and his grin faltered. The new god stood in a crater surrounded by molten stone, his gray skin showing scorch marks and actual damage, his armor cracked in places, but he stood. Wounded but standing, hurt but functional. And now, finally, Darkseid smiled, a terrible expression that carried no warmth, no humor, only the satisfaction of a predator that had just confirmed its prey could provide entertainment. "Acceptable. You have earned my personal attention, Saiyan. Allow me to demonstrate why I am called the God of Tyranny." He moved, and despite his massive size, despite his appearance of being carved from living stone, Darkseid was fast. Not as fast as Vegeta in raw speed, but faster than he had any right to be, and his fist connected with Vegeta's ribs in a blow that the Saiyan felt in his bones, his organs, his soul. Vegeta was launched backward through the palace wall he had created earlier, through Apocalypse's industrial sector where the machines that processed agony into fuel operated endlessly, and he cratered into a fire pit with enough force to displace molten metal in tsunami waves. The enslaved masses working the pit scattered, their hollow eyes widening as they witnessed their god-tyrant fighting something that actually hurt him, and Vegeta pulled himself from the pit with his left arm hanging wrong, his healing factor already working but not fast enough. Darkseid emerged from the palace, striding calmly through the destruction, his Omega beams firing continuously now, creating a web of erasure energy that forced Vegeta into a defensive pattern, dodging and blocking with ki shields that shattered under sustained assault. "You are strong, Saiyan, but strength without dominance is merely potential, waiting to be harvested. Join me. Serve Apocalypse. Together we could conquer your dimension and mine, subjugate the Kryptonian and his league, and I would grant you everything your pride desires: acknowledgement, power, the satisfaction of proving your superiority." Darkseid's offer carried the weight of genuine interest, his tactical mind already calculating how to weaponize this golden warrior against Earth's defenders. Or refuse, and I will break you, reshape your will with the anti-life equation, and you will serve anyway, just without the dignity of choosing. Vegeta's response was immediate and absolute, his voice carrying across apocalypse with royal command that had once ordered the annihilation of species. I kneel to no one, I serve no one. I am the prince of all Saiyans, and every creature that tried to dominate me either died or learned to regret their arrogance. His aura exploded upward again, his power level climbing as Saiyan biology responded to mortal danger with increased strength. The Zenkai effect that had defined his race's dominance triggering even in the heat of battle. And then reality bent. A boom tube opened above the combatants, and Superman crashed through leading Wonder Woman, Flash, and a platoon of Green Lanterns from OA. Their arrival coinciding with Vegeta's counter-assault as the Saiyan Prince launched himself at Darkseid with renewed fury. The Justice League and Green Lantern Corps arrived to witness something unprecedented. Darkseid, the terror of 1,000 worlds, actually being driven backward by a golden warrior whose pride exceeded even the tyrant's ambition. Superman's heat vision joined Vegeta's ki blasts. Wonder Woman's lasso of truth attempted to bind Darkseid's arms. Flash created vortexes to disrupt the Omega beams, and the Green Lantern's combined constructs formed barriers and weapons. But even together, they barely equaled what Vegeta had been doing alone. The Saiyan Prince glanced at Superman mid-battle, his expression irritated rather than grateful. I didn't need your help, Kryptonian. This fight was mine. But despite his protests, despite his wounded pride at the intervention, Vegeta fought alongside Earth's defenders with devastating efficiency. And for the first time in millennia, Darkseid began calculating retreat protocols. Darkseid's tactical retreat calculation lasted exactly 1.3 seconds before his pride overrode survival instinct. Because gods do not flee from mortals regardless of their power levels. And the new god's eyes blazed brighter as he committed to total annihilation rather than strategic withdrawal. His Omega beams multiplied, splitting into dozens of seeking streams that carved through Green Lantern constructs like they were tissue paper, forcing the Corps members into desperate, evasive maneuvers as their rings screamed warnings about energy signatures that existed outside normal physics. One beam caught a lantern from Sector 2814, a veteran who had survived the Sinestro Corps War, and the warrior simply ceased, erased so completely that his ring flew off searching for a replacement before his body hit the ground because there was no body, no memory, no echo of having ever existed. The remaining lanterns poured more willpower into their shields, but Darkseid was relentless. His assault, a mathematical equation of destruction that calculated angles, trajectories, and the exact amount of force needed to break each defender individually. Wonder Woman surged forward with her god-forged sword raised high, the blade that had drawn blood from Darkseid before. But this time, the tyrant caught it between two fingers, the metal screaming as his grip threatened to shatter Hephaestus's finest work. And his other hand drove into Diana's stomach with force that folded even an Amazon princess forged by gods. She gasped, her grip on the sword faltering, and Darkseid's emotionless face leaned close to hers. You bring the Kryptonian and his allies to apocalypse, thinking numbers matter against inevitability. Foolish Amazon. I am not a villain to be overcome by friendship and teamwork. I am the end of all defiance. Flash vibrated between dimensions, trying to find an angle of approach where Darkseid couldn't track him, his connection to the Speed Force allowing him to move through temporal spaces where normal beings couldn't perceive. But Omega beams existed outside conventional time, and they found him anyway, forcing Barry to push his speed beyond safe limits, to tap into the Speed Force so deeply that his body began phasing into energy, his material form struggling to maintain cohesion. He created a vortex around Darkseid, trying to disorient the new god with infinite velocity chaos, but Darkseid simply planted his feet and stood unmoved, a stone of tyranny around which reality bent rather than the reverse. Superman hit Darkseid from behind with the force of a collapsing star, his full Kryptonian strength channeled into a double-fisted blow that would have shattered continents, and it rocked the new god forward exactly one step before Darkseid's elbow came back, catching Superman's temple, the impact creating a thunderclap and sending Clark spinning through the air, trailing blood. And through all of this, Vegeta watched with growing frustration because they were doing it wrong, fighting like a team that relied on coordinated tactics against an opponent who thrived on divided attention, who could track and counter multiple threats simultaneously without ever losing focus on his primary objective: domination through overwhelming individual superiority. "Stop fighting like weaklings hiding behind each other's strength," Vegeta roared, his voice cutting through the chaos of battle. And before anyone could respond, he was moving, his Super Saiyan speed closing the distance to Darkseid, while the tyrant was occupied with Wonder Woman. Vegeta's knee connected with Darkseid's kidney area, with enough force to create a shockwave that shattered nearby fire pits. And while the new god was turning to address this new angle, Vegeta's elbow came down on the crown of his head, driving Darkseid's face toward the burning ground. When you fight someone stronger than you, you don't spread your power thin trying to attack from every direction. You concentrate everything into overwhelming force at a single point. He demonstrated by channeling Kai into both hands and slamming them simultaneously into Darkseid's spine, the energy detonating on contact and actually finally forcing the new god to one knee. Superman understood immediately, his tactical mind parsing Vegeta's strategy, and his heat vision lanced out at full intensity, focused on the exact spot where Vegeta's ki had cracked Darkseid's armor. The combined assault burning through layers of new god physiology that had withstood planetary bombardments. Wonder Woman recovered and drove her sword, not at Darkseid's body, but at the ground beneath him. Her godly strength channeled through Hephaestus's blade, cracking the foundation and throwing off the tyrant's balance at the critical moment when Flash vibrated through his molecular structure, disrupting his cellular cohesion from within. The coordinated assault, focused and overwhelming rather than scattered and tactical, actually hurt Darkseid in ways the previous battle hadn't, and the new god's roar of frustration echoed across Apocalypse like divine thunder as he released a sphere of Omega energy that exploded outward, forcing everyone back, buying him space to reassess. His armor was cracked in multiple places, gray skin showing actual wounds, and one eye was swelling shut from accumulated damage. But his remaining eye blazed with intensified hatred and something approaching respect for the Golden Warrior, who had taught Earth's defenders how to actually fight a god. "You are more than I anticipated, Saiyan," A warrior prince who understands battle at fundamental levels these heroes have forgotten in their age of mercy and restraint. You would have made an excellent general in my army, a fist to shatter worlds at my command. Darkseid stood fully, his body already beginning to heal through new god physiology that could recover from nearly anything given time. But since you refuse the honor of serving Apocalypse, since you align yourself with these pathetic defenders of free will and individual choice, you leave me no option but total annihilation. His hands spread wide and reality screamed as Darkseid began drawing on Apocalypse itself, on the fire pits that burned with tortured soul, on the machines that processed suffering into energy, on every resource of his hellscape dimension, channeling it all into himself until his body glowed with red energy that hurt to look at directly. The Green Lantern's ring simultaneously shrieked warnings: planetary destruction imminent, multiversal breach detected, Omega-level extinction event forming. And the core members looked at each other with the dawning horror of beings who had seen civilizations end and recognized the prelude. The senior Lantern, a veteran named Tomar II, whose sector included 14 inhabited worlds, made the call with grim certainty. Fall back to minimum safe distance. Everyone not invulnerable, retreat now. He's going to detonate this entire planetoid. The Lanterns created a massive green barrier around the non-powered heroes and began pulling back. But Superman, Wonder Woman, and Vegeta stood their ground because retreat wasn't in their vocabulary, because someone had to stop this before Darkseid's death throes took Earth's dimension with him. Vegeta's mind raced through options at combat speed, his tactical genius, often overshadowed by his pride but no less sharp, analyzing the threat. Darkseid was channeling too much energy, destabilizing his own avatar's structural integrity, and when he released it, everything within a light year would cease to exist. Unless someone could match that output with equal force and create a cancellation effect, an explosion contained within explosion. A controlled detonation instead of universal annihilation. It would require power beyond anything Vegeta had demonstrated so far, would require pushing his Super Saiyan form past its normal limits. Would require something he'd been saving, something he'd developed fighting Kakarot and had sworn to use only against his greatest rival. Kryptonian, Vegeta said quietly, his voice cutting through even Darkseid's power up with intensity of purpose. When I give the signal, hit him with everything. Full solar energy release, no holding back. No concern for collateral damage. Understand? Superman nodded, his body already absorbing energy at maximum rate from Apocalypse's red sun equivalent, and from his own cells' stored reserves. Wonder Woman positioned herself between them and Darkseid, her bracelets raised ready to deflect or redirect whatever came next, her Amazon training allowing her to find peace in the certainty of necessary sacrifice. And Vegeta closed his eyes, drawing inward to that place where pride met power, where Saiyan biology met absolute refusal to accept limits, where the Prince of all Saiyans touched something beyond Super Saiyan, something he'd glimpsed in battles against beings that transcended mortality. His golden aura began to spark with blue electricity. His muscles compacted further, his hair spiked higher, and when his eyes opened, they burned with power that registered on Apocalypse sensors as equivalent to Darkseid's current output. Super Saiyan, second grade. the form he'd developed to bridge the gap between regular Super Saiyan and the legendary forms beyond. Trading some speed for exponentially increased power, a transformation that turned him from planetary threat to genuine star killer. This is the form I developed to finally surpass Kakarot, Vegeta announced, his voice deeper now, resonating with the energy coursing through every cell. I've never used it in combat because I was saving it for our rematch. For the moment I could finally prove my superiority, but you, Darkseid, you've earned the honor of facing the absolute peak of Saiyan evolution. Consider yourself fortunate in your final moments. His hands came together, blue-white energy gathering between them that made his previous final flesh look like a firecracker, power condensing until it threatened to collapse into a singularity, until the fabric of dimensions groaned under the pressure. Darkseid's charging stopped, his attention fully locked on Vegeta now with what might have been surprise or might have been the acknowledgement of meeting an equal. Impossible. Your power level just exceeded my own. How? What are you? Vegeta's grin was pure Saiyan arrogance refined into absolute confidence. I am Vegeta, Prince of all Saiyans, and I am the hype. The blue-white energy exploded from his hands in a beam that rewrote physics, that carved through Darkseid's red energy field like it wasn't there, and Superman's heat vision joined it from another angle, while Wonder Woman's bracelets clashed together, releasing stored godly energy. Three impossible forces converging on Darkseid simultaneously. The collision of energies at Apocalypse's core created a light show visible across 3 galaxies, a detonation of such magnitude that the Guardians of the Universe on OA collectively rose from their seats in alarm. The Spectre turned his ancient gaze toward the disturbance, and in the Phantom Zone, Kryptonian criminals pressed against their dimensional prison to witness power that rivaled their own catastrophic wars. Vegeta's blue-white beam carved through Darkseid's red energy like divine judgment. Superman's heat vision burned with solar fury, intensified beyond anything he'd previously achieved, and Wonder Woman's released godly power created a trinity of destruction focused on a single point. The new god's chest where his armor had already cracked, where vulnerability had been exposed through concentrated assault. Darkseid's roar shook Apocalypse to its foundations as he tried to redirect his gathered energy, to split his focus between offense and defense, but the fundamental problem remained. He was one being fighting 3 opponents who had synchronized their assault with perfect timing. The impact drove him backward through his own throne room, through the palace he'd built from the broken wills of civilizations, through layers of apocalyptic architecture designed to withstand siege warfare from armadas, and into the planet's molten core where the fire pits originated, where suffering was refined into the fuel that powered his dimension of eternal torment. Vegeta didn't let up, his blue-white beam pushing deeper, his Super Saiyan second-grade form burning through energy reserves at an unsustainable rate. But he didn't care, because this was victory. This was domination. This was proving that the Prince of all Saiyans could break a god when properly motivated. His muscles screamed protests. His cells began degrading from the strain of maintaining this transformation. But Saiyan pride overrode biological warnings, and he poured more power into the beam, more ki than he'd used even against Perfect Cell, more energy than he demonstrated fighting Majin Buu, drawing on reserves he didn't know existed because losing to this stone-faced tyrant was not acceptable. Superman matched his intensity, his Kryptonian biology processing yellow sun radiation stored in every cell, converting it to heat vision that approached the temperature of stellar cores, that burned with the righteousness of someone who had watched Darkseid nearly conquer Earth multiple times, and was finally getting to cut loose without worrying about collateral damage because they were already in hell. Wonder Woman's energy faded first, her mortal body unable to sustain godly output indefinitely. But she'd done her part, weakened Darkseid's defenses enough for the two powerhouses to finish what she'd started, and she fell to her knees gasping, her armor scorched, her sword dulled but still gripped tight because Amazons never release their weapons while conscious. Then, impossibly, Darkseid's hand emerged from the inferno of their combined assault. His fingers spread wide, his palm facing outward, and his Omega beams fired not as seeking projectiles, but as a continuous stream that met Vegeta's beam head-on, the collision creating a sphere of contained annihilation between them where both energies warred for dominance. The new god stood in the molten core of his own planet, half his body burned away and already regenerating, his armor completely gone, revealing gray skin crisscrossed with scars from 10,000 campaigns, and his voice carried across the battlefield with the weight of inevitability. You cannot kill Darkseid. I am not merely flesh and power. I am tyranny conceptualized, the mathematical certainty that the strong dominate the weak, the inevitable conclusion of all organized resistance. You may destroy this avatar, Saiyan Prince, but I exist beyond singular forms. My essence permeates apocalypse itself, my will encoded in every fire pit, every slave, every machine that processes agony into eternity. His Omega beam intensified, actually beginning to push back against Vegeta's blue-white energy, and the Saiyan Prince felt his transformation beginning to falter, his body reaching absolute limits where biology simply couldn't sustain this level of output. But I acknowledge your strength. Join me willingly, and I will grant you what you truly desire. A universe where the weak serve the strong, where your Saiyan pride is validated by cosmic hierarchy, where you never again must watch lesser beings achieve what you have earned through suffering and battle. The offer hung in the air between them, tempting in ways Darkseid's tactical mind had calculated precisely, targeting Vegeta's deepest insecurities. The fact that Goku had surpassed him repeatedly, despite lower birth status. The reality that Vegeta had achieved his transformations through shortcuts and desperation, while Kakarot stumbled into them through pure-hearted combat. The gnawing knowledge that for all his pride and princely status, the low-class Saiyan was simply better. Darkseid saw these wounds in Vegeta's key signature, in the way his power fluctuated with emotional turbulence, and the offer was designed to exploit them perfectly. For exactly 3 seconds, Vegeta's beam faltered as the words struck deeper than any physical blow could. The arena held its breath. Superman preparing to intervene, Wonder Woman struggling to rise, the Green Lanterns forming emergency constructs, all of them watching to see if the Saiyan Prince would break, would choose power through servitude over struggle through pride. Then Vegeta laughed. It started quiet, almost inaudible beneath the energy collision, but built into full-throated manic joy that carried absolute certainty. His beam stopped faltering and instead intensified, blue-white energy flooding forward with renewed vigor as his Saiyan biology responded to near-death experience with another Zenkai boost, another impossible surge of power that defined his race's dominance. You really don't understand, do you, Stoneface? I've had that offer before. Frieza promised me power if I served. I killed him. Babidi offered me strength through magical control. I broke his spell through sheer will. And you? You discount store apocalypse wannabe? You think I'd trade my pride for your scraps? Vegeta's aura exploded outward, his transformation pushing even further past second-grade limits, approaching something beyond as his absolute refusal to submit triggered evolutionary response. I don't want a universe handed to me. I don't want victory served on a silver platter. I want to earn every transformation, every victory, every moment of superiority through blood and battle, and refusing to stay down when gods tell me I'm beaten. That's what separates Saiyans from tyrants like you. We get stronger every time we nearly die. We evolve through combat, and we never kneel. His beam consumed Darkseid's Omega energy completely, burning through the new god's regeneration faster than his physiology could compensate, and Superman added his remaining solar reserves to the assault, the combined force finally, definitively overwhelming the Lord of Apocalypse. Darkseid's avatar began to crack, to fragment, to dissolve as the energies tore through his manifestation and struck the conceptual essence beneath. And his final words carried not defeat, but grim satisfaction. You have won this engagement, Saiyan. My avatar falls. But know this, I am Darkseid, I am eternal, and you have given me something precious, data on your dimension's physics, on energy signatures I can replicate, on weaknesses I can exploit when I invade properly prepared. His form shattered completely, exploding into fragments of stone and energy that rained across Apocalypse, and the planet itself began destabilizing without its god-tyrant's will holding the dimensional structure together. Boom tubes opened automatically. Apocalyptian emergency protocols activating to evacuate essential personnel before total collapse. And Superman grabbed Vegeta, who was barely conscious, his Super Saiyan second-grade form flickering as exhaustion caught up with adrenaline. Time to go. This whole place is coming apart. Wonder Woman was already through a lantern-created portal. Flash had evacuated the wounded, and Superman carried Vegeta through the dimensional barrier just as Apocalypse core went critical, the hellscape dimension folding in on itself in a death spiral that would take weeks to fully collapse but had already passed the point of no return. They emerged in Earth's orbit, battered and exhausted, as Apocalypse burned in the dimensional distance and Vegeta pushed weakly against Superman's grip. Put me down, Kryptonian. I can fly myself. Superman released him carefully, watching as Vegeta floated under his own power, though his golden aura had faded to barely visible flickers. His transformation dropped entirely, his base form revealed showing extensive injuries that would have killed normal beings 3 times over. The Saiyan prince looked rough, armor destroyed, one arm clearly broken, blood streaming from multiple wounds, but his eyes still burned with pride that bordered on insanity. And he met Superman's concerned gaze with a smirk that acknowledged shared victory. You fight better when you're not holding back, Kryptonian. Almost worthy of being called a rival. Almost. Before Superman could respond, before he could thank Vegeta for the assistance or warn him about Darkseid's threat or do any of the things a hero should do in this moment, reality bent again. But this time, it wasn't a boom tube from Apocalypse. This time, it was something else entirely, a rift that tasted of home to Vegeta. that carried energy signatures he recognized instantly. DBZ universe physics bleeding through into DC space, a dimensional tear that had reopened whatever portal brought him here in the first place. And through that tear, Vegeta could sense them, Kakarot's infuriating key signature, probably training somewhere ridiculous. Bulma's technology creating dimensional anchors to pull him home. Even the Bratz, Trunks, and Goten adding their energy to the recall beacon. His universe calling him back. Vegeta stared at the dimensional rift with an expression Superman couldn't quite read. Longing mixed with frustration, relief tangled with what might have been disappointment, and beneath it all that core of Saiyan pride that defined every decision the prince made. His universe was calling him home, offering escape from this dimension where gods wore capes and villains ruled hellscape planets, where battles happened in cities full of civilians instead of empty wastelands, where heroes held back when they should have been crushing enemies with overwhelming force. By all logical calculation, he should have immediately flown through that portal without a backward glance, returned to familiar physics and his ongoing rivalry with Kakarot, and the comfortable certainty of knowing his place in a universe's power hierarchy. But Vegeta had never been purely logical, and something about this dimension had gotten under his skin in ways he couldn't articulate. He turned slowly, his gaze sweeping across the assembled Justice League. Superman hovering with concern written across his bloodied features. Wonder Woman being supported by Flash despite her protests that Amazons needed no assistance. The Green Lanterns maintaining formation in case of additional threats. And in the distance, Earth rotating peacefully, unaware of how close it had come to extinction. Weak. Most of them were pathetically weak compared to what he'd faced in his home universe. But they fought anyway. Threw themselves at impossible odds anyway, and somehow, impossibly, they won anyway through sheer, stubborn refusal to surrender. "Before I leave," Vegeta said quietly, his voice carrying despite his exhaustion, "answer me this, Kryptonian. You have power that rivals mine when you're not handicapping yourself with morality. You could conquer this planet, this dimension, rule as an absolute god-king, and none of these insects could stop you. Why don't you? What possible benefit do you gain from protecting beings who will never approach a fraction of your strength?" It was the same question that had plagued him since his redemption arc began in his own universe. The fundamental disconnect between Saiyan warrior philosophy that measured worth through combat and whatever backwards thinking made Goku, made Superman, choose protection over domination. Clark floated closer. His cape torn and his suit scorched, but his expression carrying that unshakable moral certainty that had defined him since the Kents taught a superpowered alien boy about humanity. Because power without compassion is just tyranny with a different face. Because every life has value regardless of strength. Because I was raised by two farmers in Kansas who taught me that being strong means protecting those who can't protect themselves, not exploiting them. He met Vegeta's gaze steadily. No judgment in his expression, only the patient explanation of someone who had encountered this question before. "You're right that I could conquer Earth easily. But what would that make me? Just another Darkseid, another tyrant who measures worth through dominance. The Kents taught me better. They taught me that the measure of a person isn't their power, it's what they choose to do with it." Vegeta was silent for a long moment, his Saiyan brain processing philosophy that should have been anathema to everything his species represented, that contradicted warrior culture refined through millennia of combat-based evolution, yet somehow resonated with recent experiences in his own universe, where that exact philosophy, wielded by an idiot, low-class Saiyan, had repeatedly surpassed his own superior tactics. Kakarot says similar nonsense. Vegeta admitted grudgingly, his tone suggesting this was physically painful to acknowledge. Claims that fighting to protect is more powerful than fighting to dominate, that bonds with weaklings somehow make him stronger instead of dragging him down to their level. I've spent years trying to prove him wrong, training in isolation while he wastes time with his family and friends, pushing myself beyond every limit while he laughs and eats and acts like battle is a game. His fists clenched, frustration evident in every line of his battered body. And yet he keeps surpassing me, keeps achieving transformations I can't reach, keeps winning battles I should dominate through superior breeding and tactical genius. It's infuriating beyond description. Wonder Woman, despite her injuries, managed a slight smile at this admission. Perhaps your rival understands something about strength that you're only beginning to learn, Saiyan Prince. True power isn't just physical. It's knowing what you fight for, who you fight for, and accepting that protecting others doesn't diminish your strength, but multiplies it. The dimensional rift pulsed, growing unstable. Bulma's technology on the other side clearly struggling to maintain the connection across universal boundaries, and Vegeta knew his time for philosophical debate was ending whether he liked it or not. But before he left, before he returned to his universe and the endless rivalry with Kakarot and the daily frustration of watching a low-class warrior embody principles that shouldn't work but somehow did, he needed something from this experience. Validation, acknowledgement, proof that his time in this dimension hadn't been wasted, that he'd made an impact beyond just breaking buildings and fighting gods. He looked directly at Superman, his pride warring with something approaching respect, and spoke words that tasted foreign on his tongue. You're stronger than I initially assessed, Kryptonian. Not just physically, though you held your own against my Super Saiyan form better than most. But your tactical adjustment during the Darkseid fight, your willingness to cut loose when necessary while maintaining enough control to prevent collateral damage, that requires skill beyond raw power. In another universe, under different circumstances, you might have made a decent rival. Coming from Vegeta, this was practically a declaration of brotherhood, and Superman recognized the significance immediately. He extended his hand, that universal gesture of respect between warriors, and after a moment's hesitation, Vegeta gripped it, their handshake creating a small shockwave from residual energies still crackling around both fighters. If your dimension ever faces a threat you can't handle alone, Superman offered seriously, his grip firm despite exhaustion, find a way to contact us. The Justice League doesn't abandon allies, regardless of what universe they're from. Vegeta snorted, his pride immediately reasserting itself over the momentary vulnerability. As if I'd ever need backup from dimension-hopping do-gooders who waste half their energy worrying about civilian casualties, but... He paused, the word hanging heavy with unspoken acknowledgement. If Darkseid makes good on his threat and invades my universe, I'll consider warning Kakarot that there's a stone-faced god who needs his teeth kicked in. Should keep the idiot entertained for at least an afternoon. He released Superman's hand and turned toward the portal, his back to the Justice League in a display of either trust or dismissal, possibly both. But before stepping through, he glanced back one final time, his expression unreadable. "Batman, I know you're listening from whatever surveillance satellite you've pointed at us. Your tactics during our Gotham encounter were adequate. For a human with no powers, you demonstrated combat awareness that would be respectable even among Saiyan elites. Don't let that go to your head. You'd still die in seconds against any serious threat from my universe. But I acknowledge that intelligence can occasionally compensate for pathetic power levels." In the Batcave, Bruce Wayne allowed himself the smallest smile at this backhanded compliment from a warrior who had casually tangled with Superman at full power and lived to boast about it, his analytical mind already cataloging everything he'd observed about Saiyan physiology, combat patterns, and energy manipulation for future reference, because Batman always prepared for every contingency, including interdimensional warriors with god complexes and golden transformations. Back in orbit, the dimensional rift destabilized further, reality tearing at the edges as two universes' physics warred for dominance, and Vegeta's time had definitively run out. He took one last look at Earth, this blue marble populated by beings who barely registered on his Ki sense, but somehow produced defenders who could stand against planetary threats through sure determination, and something in his expression suggested he might actually miss this dimension's particular brand of insanity. Then his pride reasserted control, his smirk returned, and Prince Vegeta, of all Saiyans, flew into the dimensional rift without ceremony or farewell beyond a casual two-fingered salute that might have been respect, or might have been dismissal, or might have been both. The portal sealed behind him with a flash of purple energy, reality knitting itself back together, and suddenly Earth's orbit felt distinctly emptier, despite nothing having physically changed. Superman floated in silence for a moment, processing everything that had happened in the last hour. The devastating battle across two cities, the desperate fight on Apocalypse, the alliance with a warrior who measured friendship through combat intensity, and the philosophical discussions that challenged his own understanding of strength and protection. Wonder Woman joined him, her injuries already healing through Amazon physiology, her expression thoughtful. That was perhaps the most dangerous being we've encountered, who wasn't actively trying to conquer or destroy us. His power rivaled Darkseid's, his combat skill exceeded most warriors I faced, and his pride was simultaneously his greatest strength and most obvious weakness. She paused, watching the spot where the portal had been. "Do you think he'll actually warn his universe if Darkseid invades?" Superman considered this, his super hearing already picking up emergency services responding to the destruction below, his X-ray vision confirming that casualties were surprisingly minimal given the scale of combat, his mind already shifting toward recovery and rebuilding mode. "I think Vegeta will do whatever his pride dictates in the moment, but I also think we made an impression. Showed him that strength can serve purposes beyond domination. Whether that changes him or just irritates him until he trains harder to prove us wrong." Clark smiled slightly, remembering the Saiyan prince's manic grin during combat. Either way, his universe is about to get very interesting. The Justice League regrouped at the Watchtower for debriefing, medical attention, and the inevitable mountain of paperwork that followed any incident involving interdimensional warriors and the temporary destruction of Apocalypse Avatar. But the mood was unusually contemplative rather than celebratory. They'd won, technically, driven back Darkseid, and survived an encounter with a being whose power levels defied their conventional understanding of threats. But the victory felt incomplete somehow. Batman's assessment, delivered from his position at the Watchtower's central console, where 17 monitors displayed analysis of Vegeta's energy signatures, combat patterns, and dimensional physics, was typically blunt. We got lucky. If Vegeta had decided we were enemies instead of temporary allies, if Darkseid had arrived before the Saiyan burned through his transformation's energy reserves, if that dimensional rift had opened 30 seconds later, any of those scenarios ends with catastrophic casualties. He pulled up footage of Vegeta's final flash, the blue-white beam that had carved through apocalyptic architecture like it was constructed from wishes and prayers. This Super Saiyan transformation represents a 50x power multiplier, according to Cyborg's calculations, and Vegeta implied there are forms beyond what we witnessed. His base form, before transformation, was already comparable to Kryptonian physiology under optimal conditions. Do the math. The implications hung heavy. Beings from other dimensions who could multiply their already godlike power by factors of 50 or more. And Vegeta had suggested this wasn't even his universe's peak. Flash voiced what everyone was thinking, his usual levity subdued by exhaustion and the lingering adrenaline crash of fighting someone who moved faster than he'd expected from a non-speedster. So what do we do if he comes back? Or if more Saiyans show up? Or if his rival, this Kakarot guy, who's apparently even stronger, decides to visit? We barely survived one Saiyan who was more interested in fighting Darkseid than conquering Earth. What happens when we face one who's actually hostile? Superman stood, his leadership instincts kicking in despite his own exhaustion, his torn suit and healing injuries testament to how seriously he took this threat assessment. We do what we always do. We prepare. We train. We find ways to protect Earth against threats we don't fully understand. Batman will develop contingencies. Bruce's grunt of acknowledgement confirmed he was already 17 steps ahead. And we'll strengthen our alliances with the Green Lantern Corps, New Genesis, and every other cosmic power willing to stand against dimensional threats. But more importantly, we remember what Vegeta taught us today. He looked around at his fellow heroes, his expression serious but not despairing. We learned that overwhelming power can be matched through coordination, that pride can be reasoned with even when compassion can't, and that sometimes the difference between enemy and ally is choosing to see potential rather than just threat. Vegeta could have destroyed us. Instead, he fought beside us. That's not luck. That's diplomacy through combat. And it's a tool we need to master. 3 weeks after Vegeta's departure, Earth had settled into an uneasy new normal where citizens tried to forget that a golden warrior had carved through Metropolis and Gotham like tissue paper, where governments quietly upgraded their extraterrestrial threat protocols, and where the Justice League trained with an intensity that bordered on obsessive because they all understood the fundamental truth Batman had calculated. Next time might not end with tentative alliance and dimensional evacuation. Superman pushed himself harder than he had in years, spending hours in the polar fortress practicing full-power combat without restraint against Kryptonian battle drones, programmed to exploit every weakness. His heat vision carving through ice formations at temperatures that approached stellar cores. His speed pushed until the friction threatened to ignite the atmosphere itself. Wonder Woman returned to Themyscira for advanced combat training with her Amazon sisters, drilling against magical opponents and reality-bending threats, because Vegeta's key energy had bypassed her divine protections in ways traditional attacks couldn't, and she refused to be caught unprepared again. Flash dove deeper into the Speed Force than ever before, exploring temporal mechanics and velocity-based combat techniques that might allow him to match beings who moved at combat speeds without tapping into time manipulation, his body adapting to sustained acceleration that would have torn him apart months earlier. Green Lantern coordinated with Oa to establish rapid response protocols for dimensional incursions. The Guardians acknowledging after reviewing combat footage that Vegeta represented a threat classification they'd never properly accounted for, warriors whose raw power exceeded cosmic entities but operated on individual rather than universal scales. And Batman, predictably, became obsessed. The Batcave's central computer now dedicated 17% of its processing power to analyzing Vegeta's combat data, energy signatures, transformation mechanics, and most importantly, weaknesses. Bruce had identified several exploitable patterns. The Super Saiyan form burned through energy reserves at unsustainable rates, requiring either quick victory or strategic retreat. The transformation seemed triggered by emotional intensity, suggesting psychological manipulation could disrupt it. And Vegeta's pride was a liability that proper tactics could exploit into overextension. But these observations felt hollow because they assumed fighting Vegeta again, assumed conflict when the Saiyan prince had departed on neutral terms. And Batman's strategic mind wrestled with the uncomfortable reality that not every threat required a contingency for elimination. Sometimes, the best contingency was ensuring the threat remained an ally, which brought him to his current project, displayed across the Batcave's monitors in schematics that would have given Star Lab scientists collective aneurysms. A dimensional beacon, technology reverse-engineered from the portal that had recalled Vegeta, designed not to summon but to contact, to establish communication across universal boundaries. If Darkseid rebuilt his avatar and invaded Vegeta's universe, if cosmic threats emerged that required Saiyan-level power to contain, if Earth needed allies beyond conventional dimensions, Bruce Wayne would ensure the Justice League could reach out. Alfred entered, carrying tea. Bruce wouldn't drink in commentary. He definitely would. Burning the midnight oil again, Master Wayne. One might think you're developing a fascination with interdimensional warriors who treat planetary combat as recreational activity. Bruce didn't look up from his work, his fingers flying across holographic interfaces as he adjusted dimensional frequency harmonics. Vegeta represents a paradigm shift in threat assessment. We've faced gods, cosmic entities, reality benders, but they all operated within this universe's physical laws. Saiyans come from a dimension where power scaling follows completely different rules, where individual warriors routinely achieve energy outputs we'd classify as extinction-level events. If there are more like him, if his universe contains beings even stronger, We need to understand their physics, their psychology, their tactical patterns. He finally looked at Alfred, his expression carrying the weight of someone who'd calculated every worst-case scenario and found them all terrifying. And we need to ensure that if they come here again, it's as friends, not conquerors. Because, Alfred, I ran the simulations. Vegeta, in his transformed state, fully committed to Earth's destruction with no Darkseid to distract him, we'd have maybe 48 hours before the planet was uninhabitable. And that's if Superman managed to fight him to a stalemate long enough for us to evacuate. We can't beat Saiyans through force. We need diplomacy backed by mutual respect, the kind Vegeta demonstrated when he chose to help instead of hinder. Alfred set the tea down beside monitors, displaying energy calculations that hurt to read, his aged eyes sharp with understanding. So you're building a phone to call an interdimensional warrior prince who barely tolerates us, on the slim hope that friendship through combat is stronger than his pride. Bruce allowed himself the ghost of a smile. When you phrase it that way, it sounds insane. But yes, essentially. Because that warrior prince chose to stand with us against Darkseid when he could have stood aside or even joined the enemy. He fought beside Superman despite their rivalry, adjusted tactics to coordinate with the League despite preferring solo combat, and left without demanding tribute or territory despite having the power to claim both. That's not random chance. That's character, buried under layers of pride and aggression, but still present. The Vegeta who left Earth isn't the same one who arrived, and I'm betting on that growth continuing. The beacon's final calibrations completed, its dimensional frequency locked to the faint energy signature Vegeta's portal had left embedded in reality's fabric, and Batman activated it with the simple press of a button. Nothing dramatic happened, no explosion of light, no reality-tearing effects, just a subtle pulse that existed across dimensional barriers, a signal saying we remember you, we respect you, and if you need us, we're here. Whether Vegeta would ever acknowledge that signal, whether his pride would allow accepting help from beings he'd categorized as weak, remained to be seen. But the beacon was active, and Bruce Wayne slept slightly easier, knowing that if dimensional threats emerged beyond Justice League capabilities, they had one more option beyond desperate last stands and Pyrrhic victories. Meanwhile, in a universe governed by different physics where power levels were measurable quantities and transformations came in numbered stages, Vegeta had returned to a hero's welcome he absolutely didn't want and refused to acknowledge. Bulma had nearly tackled him upon arrival, her relief at his safe return warring with fury at his disappearance. Her genius intellect already demanding detailed explanations about the dimensional breach's cause and the universe he'd visited. Trunks watched his father with a complicated mixture of respect and concern that defined their relationship, noting new scars and a contemplative expression that seemed out of place on the prince's usually arrogant features. And Goku, that infuriatingly cheerful, low-class Saiyan who somehow embodied everything Vegeta claimed to despise while also representing the only rivalry that truly mattered, had immediately challenged him to a sparring match to see what new techniques you picked up in that other dimension. They'd fought for 3 hours in the wastelands outside West City, neither holding back, both pushing their Super Saiyan forms to absolute limits. And afterward, Goku had grinned that idiotic grin and declared it their best match in months. Vegeta, bruised and exhausted, and more satisfied than he'd admit, had agreed with a grunt that Kakarot interpreted correctly as high praise. But during that fight, during the moments when their power levels peaked and their auras blazed golden against Earth's sky, Vegeta had incorporated techniques he'd learned fighting Superman and Darkseid. Tactical adjustments, power conservation, coordinated attacks that acknowledged his opponent's strengths rather than simply overwhelming through raw force. Goku noticed immediately, his combat instincts sharper than his academic intelligence, and afterward, while they recovered, he'd asked with genuine curiosity, "You fight different, Vegeta, more controlled? Like you're thinking about protecting something instead of just winning. What happened over there?" And Vegeta, pride warring with honesty, had eventually answered with uncharacteristic openness. "I fought a Kryptonian named Superman who had power rivaling ours, but chose restraint over domination, who divided his attention between combat and civilian protection, and somehow didn't die for the stupidity of it. I fought alongside heroes who coordinated instead of competing, who treated battle as cooperative rather than individual glory. And I fought against a tyrant named Darkseid, who represented everything I could have become if I'd never met you, Kakarot. Power without purpose, strength without growth, domination as the only measure of worth." He'd looked at his rival, at the one being whose opinion actually mattered despite years of refusing to admit it, and something shifted in his expression. They asked why I didn't conquer that dimension when I clearly could have. Why I chose to fight Darkseid instead of joining him. Why I helped beings weaker than myself survive instead of culling them as Saiyan philosophy demands. Goku had waited, his usual impatience replaced by recognition that Vegeta was actually, genuinely opening up about something important. "What did you tell them?" "I told them my rivalry with you had taught me backwards philosophy about protecting the weak, somehow making warriors stronger, about bonds multiplying power instead of dividing it. About how the low-class Saiyan, who should have been beneath my notice, keeps surpassing me through exactly those ridiculous principles." Vegeta's fists clenched, frustration evident, but no longer purely negative. "And then I proceeded to prove those principles correct by fighting alongside Superman with better results than solo combat would have achieved, by drawing strength from refusing to submit to Darkseid's offer of easy power, by choosing to return here instead of conquering a universe full of comparatively weak defenders who couldn't stop me." He'd met Goku's eyes directly, no flinching from the admission. "You are right, Kakarot. All those years I mocked your methods, your friendships, your idiotic compassion. You were right and I was wrong. Fighting to protect is stronger than fighting to dominate. I hate that you were right, but denying it is what kept me weaker than you. And my pride won't let me stay weaker forever." Goku's response had been typical. A laugh, a clap on Vegeta's shoulder that the prince didn't immediately brush off, an acknowledgement that sounded simple but carried weight. "Took you long enough to figure it out. But that's okay, Vegeta. Now we can really push each other, both of us fighting the right way. Want to see the new technique I've been working on? It might help you reach that transformation you're chasing." Weeks turned to months. Earth's dimension and Vegeta's universe separated by barriers that grew slightly more stable as both sides processed their encounter, and life continued in that strange way it does after paradigm-shifting events. moving forward while changed by what came before. The Justice League trained harder, prepared better, and watched dimensional monitors with vigilance born from knowing the multiverse was larger and more dangerous than they'd previously calculated. Vegeta trained obsessively, incorporating lessons learned from Superman and Darkseid into his pursuit of new transformations, his pride now tempered by grudging acknowledgement that strength came from many sources beyond pure Saiyan genetics. And in the space between universes, in the dimensional fabric that separated realities, two beacons pulsed. Batman's signal saying allies when you need them, and Bulma's technology maintaining coordinates in case retrieval was ever necessary. Neither had been used yet, but their existence represented something important, something that transcended power levels and combat prowess. The recognition that across infinite dimensions, warriors could choose honor over conquest, protection over domination, and that sometimes the strongest alliances were forged not through similar philosophies, but through mutual respect, born in combat's crucible. 6 months had passed since Vegeta's departure, when reality bent again. But this time the dimensional breach opened not on Earth, but in the vast emptiness between galaxies, in a neutral zone where neither DC nor DBZ universe held complete dominance, and what emerged from that tier made both dimensions' defenders collectively reach for weapons they hadn't touched since the Apocalypse incident. Darkseid had rebuilt. Not just his avatar, not just his forces, but his entire strategic framework, in the new god who stepped through dimensional barriers, accompanied by an army that made his previous invasion look like a scouting party, carried something new in his stone features. Adaptation, evolution, and the cold certainty of someone who had learned from defeat and returned stronger. His Omega beams now pulsed with energy signatures that mimicked Ki manipulation. His armor incorporated technology reverse-engineered from Saiyan biology analysis, and his forces included shock troops specifically designed to counter golden transformations and Kryptonian physiology. Darkseid had done what Darkseid always did. He'd turned defeat into data, weakness into weapon, and returned with mathematically calculated counters to every advantage his enemies had demonstrated. Behind him, a second boom tube opened, revealing not Apocalypse fire pits, but something worse. A staging dimension, a conquered reality that Darkseid had claimed and converted into a forward base. Populated with enslaved beings from a dozen fallen civilizations and bristling with weapons designed by Darkseid's twisted genius specifically to hunt Saiyans and Kryptonians and anyone foolish enough to stand against tyranny's inevitable advance. The Watchtower's alarm screamed first, Cyborg's mother box connection flooding him with warnings about multiversal breach, Omega-level extinction event, and coordinates that placed Darkseid's arrival equidistant between Earth's dimension and the general direction Vegeta's universe occupied in the dimensional map Batman had painstakingly constructed. This wasn't invasion. Not yet. This was declaration. Darkseid announcing his presence, his intentions, and giving both dimensions time to muster their defenders for the war he'd calculated was inevitable. Superman received the alert while helping rebuild a metropolis neighborhood still recovering from his fight with Vegeta. His super hearing immediately stretching toward the dimensional coordinates and detecting power signatures that made his Kryptonian biology scream warnings. Batman was in the Batcave, his hand already reaching for the dimensional beacon's activation switch before Alfred could voice the obvious necessity. Wonder Woman was sparring with her Amazon sisters when her divine senses registered reality tearing, the gods themselves whispering warnings about the stone-faced tyrant who had returned stronger. Flash felt the Speed Force ripple with dimensional disturbance. Green Lantern's ring blazed with emergency protocols, and across the multiverse, in a dimension where power levels were concrete numbers and transformations came with multipliers, Vegeta felt it too. That distinctive energy signature of the opponent who had pushed him beyond normal Super Saiyan limits, who had offered servitude and received defiance, who had learned and adapted and was coming back for round 2. Goku noticed Vegeta's sudden tension immediately, the two Saiyans having just finished morning training when the prince's eyes narrowed and his hand instinctively moved to his forehead in that gesture that meant someone powerful had appeared and battle was imminent. "What is it, Vegeta? Someone strong?" Goku's excitement was palpable, his Saiyan blood already singing at the prospect of a good fight. But Vegeta's expression carried none of that joy. Only grim calculation and the memory of fighting a god who didn't stay beaten. Darkseid, from that other dimension, he's back and his power level. Vegeta's ki sense stretched across dimensional barriers with difficulty, touching that massive energy signature and finding it had grown, evolved, adapted specifically to counter everything that had defeated him before. He's stronger than before, Kakarot, significantly, and he's positioned himself between dimensions like he's challenging both universes simultaneously. Goku's grin widened because of course it did, because the prospect of fighting someone who'd pushed Vegeta to his limits and then came back stronger was exactly his idea of a perfect day. "Then we should go say hi. Maybe bring some of the others. Gohan would love this, and Piccolo's been complaining about boring training. Oh, and we should definitely bring Whis, just in case it gets really serious." Vegeta wanted to snap that this wasn't a field trip, that Darkseid represented extinction-level threat, and treating him casually was suicide. But he'd learned over the years that Kakarot's idiot confidence somehow translated to combat effectiveness in ways tactical genius couldn't predict. In the watchtower, Batman's hand hovered over the dimensional beacon for exactly 3 seconds while he calculated probabilities, assessed risks, and weighed the cost of calling for help against the price of facing Darkseid's upgraded forces without Saiyan-level backup. Superman joined him, his cape still dusty from construction work, his expression carrying the weight of leadership decisions that could doom or save civilizations. We need him, don't we? Vegeta and his universe's warriors. This isn't pride or unwillingness to admit we need help. This is mathematical certainty that Darkseid prepared specifically to counter Justice League capabilities, and we need forces he didn't account for in his calculations. Bruce nodded slowly, his white eyes behind the cowl reflecting monitor displays showing Darkseid's army composition, weapons analysis, and threat assessments that all pointed to the same conclusion. The Justice League alone would lose this fight, not quickly but inevitably, ground down by attrition against an enemy who'd learned from previous defeat. Activate the beacon, and Clark. Batman's voice carried unusual gravity. When Vegeta arrives, remember he's not obligated to help. We're asking, not demanding. This is alliance between equals, not hero summoning backup. His pride will dictate his response, and if we approach this wrong, we might face Darkseid and an insulted Saiyan simultaneously. Superman understood, his experience with Vegeta's psychology informing his approach as Bruce pressed the activation switch and the dimensional beacon pulsed outward, carrying a simple message across reality barriers. Darkseid has returned. We request your assistance. Earth remembers its allies. In the wastelands outside West City, Vegeta stiffened as the beacon's pulse reached him. Batman's carefully calibrated signal carrying just enough information to convey situation while leaving decision entirely in Saiyan hands. Goku noticed immediately, his own senses picking up the weird dimensional energy. What's that? Feels like someone's trying to talk to you from really far away. Vegeta was silent for a long moment, pride warring with tactical necessity, warring with that complicated feeling he developed during his time in DC's universe. Not quite friendship, not exactly respect, but acknowledgement that Superman and Batman had treated him as equal rather than threat or tool. Darkseid had promised to invade properly prepared, and dimensional physics meant an attack on one universe could easily spill into others, could threaten Bulma and Trunks and, yes, even Kakarot and his idiotic family. This wasn't just Superman's problem. This was multiversal threat, and Vegeta had never been good at ignoring threats that might eventually reach his territory. The Kryptonian is requesting assistance. Darkseid has returned with upgraded forces. Goku's expression shifted from playful to serious, in the way only Saiyan warriors managed, battle lust mixing with genuine concern. Then we should help. You said Superman was strong, fought well alongside you. Plus, fighting a god from another dimension sounds amazing. Let me just grab Gohan and Piccolo, maybe Beerus if he's awake, and we can... But Vegeta cut him off with a raised hand, his tactical mind already working through logistics, power balance, and the critical importance of first impressions. No, Kakarot. We don't bring Beerus unless we want two gods destroying dimensions fighting over who's stronger. We don't bring your entire roster unless we want to look like we're invading rather than assisting. This requires precision. Warriors strong enough to matter, but controlled enough not to escalate beyond necessity. He paused, calculating, then made decisions that would have shocked him 6 months earlier. You, me, and Gohan. 3 Super Saiyans with different fighting styles and complementary abilities. Piccolo stays here to protect Earth in case this is a feint. Whis stays out of it unless Darkseid brings equivalent godly backup. Understood? Goku nodded, recognizing when Vegeta's tactical genius should be trusted over his own instinct to bring everyone and make it a party. And within minutes, they'd assembled. Son Goku in his orange gi looking eager, Son Gohan in his training clothes looking serious, and Prince Vegeta in new armor Bulma had designed with dimensional travel in mind. Bulma activated the coordinates her reverse-engineered portal technology had saved from Vegeta's original trip. Triple-checked the dimensional math because sending her husband and Goku into unknown space without proper calculations was asking for disaster, and opened a rift that smelled of DC Universe physics, of different stars and alien chemistry. "Be careful," she said simply, her genius intellect understanding exactly how dangerous this would be. Darkseid adapted to beat you last time. Don't let pride override survival instinct. Vegeta's response was a smirk that didn't quite hide concern. When have I ever let pride override survival? The look she gave him answered that question eloquently. They emerged in the neutral space between dimensions where Darkseid waited. And the visual hit all three Saiyans differently. Goku with delighted anticipation, Gohan with scholar's curiosity mixed with warrior readiness, and Vegeta with grim satisfaction that the opponent he'd left alive had returned stronger as worthy enemies should. The Justice League was already assembled. Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman in his Hellbat armor because this situation demanded it. Flash vibrating with barely controlled Speed Force energy. Green Lantern backed by 24 core members. Cyborg maintaining boom tube coordinates for retreat if necessary. And Martian Manhunter hovering in telepathic communication range. The contrast between teams was stark. DC's heroes in coordinated formation, professional and prepared, versus the three Saiyans floating casually like this was sparring practice instead of dimensional warfare. Superman flew forward first, extending the same hand he'd offered Vegeta months earlier, and his relief at their arrival was evident despite tactical composure. "You came, thank you. We weren't certain." Vegeta interrupted with characteristic bluntness. "Save the gratitude for after we've won, Kryptonian. Darkseid promised he'd return prepared, and I refuse to let some stone-faced tyrant conquer dimensions I've bled in without putting up proper fight." He gestured to his companions. "This is Kakarot," Goku waved cheerfully, "and his son Gohan. Both Super Saiyans, both strong enough to matter in what's coming." Darkseid's voice boomed across the void before formal introductions could continue, his massive form emerging from the staging dimension surrounded by his upgraded parademon legions, his elite troops, and technology that pulsed with stolen key manipulation mixed with apocalyptian science. "The Saiyan Prince returns and brings reinforcements." "Excellent. I had hoped you would, as it provides opportunity to test my improvements against multiple Golden Warriors simultaneously. The Kryptonian alone proved inadequate last encounter. You alone pushed me to avatar destruction, but combined forces present interesting tactical challenge." His Omega beams began charging, but this time they split into dozens of smaller tracking beams, each one programmed with targeting parameters specifically designed to counter high-speed combat and energy-based defenses. "I have studied your kind, Saiyan. Your transformations follow predictable power multiplication. Your ki manipulation operates within measurable parameters. Your pride makes you exploitable through proper psychological manipulation. You are not mysteries. You are equations I've solved." Behind him, the staging dimension's forces emerged. Thousands of parademons upgraded with anti-Kai shielding, elite shock troops wearing armor that absorbed and redirected energy attacks. And in the distance, something massive and terrible that registered on everyone's senses as wrongness incarnate. Darkseid had been busy, and his masterwork was about to be unveiled. The battle that erupted across dimensional boundaries rewrote combat records for 3 universes simultaneously, a clash so devastating that cosmic entities paused their eternal observations to witness mortal warriors and godlike beings collide with reality-shaking force. Goku transformed first, his golden aura blazing as he went Super Saiyan with the ease of someone who'd mastered the form decades ago, and he shot forward, laughing with pure battle joy as his fist connected with Darkseid's jaw in a punch that created shock waves visible across light years. Gohan followed, his more controlled transformation rippling outward as he engaged the parademon swarms with precision his father lacked. Kai blasts picking off upgraded troops with sniper accuracy, while his speed kept him untouchable. Vegeta hung back for exactly 2 seconds, analyzing Darkseid's new armor, the energy patterns of his Omega beams, the formations his troops maintained, and then he transformed into Super Saiyan, second grade immediately, his blue-white aura exploding outward as he targeted not Darkseid, but the staging dimension's portal generators, because cutting off reinforcements was basic tactics the others would ignore in their rush to fight the strongest opponent. Superman coordinated with Flash, their combined speed creating a defensive perimeter around the Green Lanterns, who constructed massive barriers to contain collateral damage, while Wonder Woman dove into melee alongside Goku, her divine combat training complementing Saiyan battle instinct in ways that made Darkseid actually take a step backward from their coordinated assault. Batman, encased in the Hellbat armor that burned his life force with every second of use, directed the battle from tactical command, his voice cutting through everyone's communication systems with precision targeting and threat assessment. Vegeta, the portal generators have mother box signatures at coordinates 347-889-221. Disable those first. Superman, Darkseid's left armor plate is cracked from Goku's initial strike. Concentrate heat vision there. Gohan, Parademon Swarm, forming attack pattern Delta 7 at your 3 o'clock. Break formation before they coordinate. His instructions were followed instantly because everyone present recognized tactical genius when it gave orders that made sense, and the coordinated assault pushed Darkseid's forces backward for the first time since the new god's arrival. But Darkseid hadn't returned unprepared, and his smile as his troops fell and his armor cracked carried the satisfaction of someone whose real plan was just beginning. The massive wrongness in the staging dimension's depths emerged fully, and Cyborg's sensors nearly exploded trying to process what they were detecting. Darkseid had built a god killer, a fusion of apocalyptian technology and captured divine essence and stolen key manipulation, a construct that measured 30 stories tall and radiated energy signatures specifically tuned to disrupt Kryptonian cellular structure and overwhelm Saiyan transformations through harmonic frequency attacks that targeted their biological enhancement mechanisms directly. The construct fired, and reality screamed. Superman was hit first, the beam passing through his invulnerability like it didn't exist, disrupting his ability to process yellow sun radiation and sending him plummeting as his powers flickered and failed. Goku took a glancing blow, and his Super Saiyan form destabilized, forcing him to drop transformation and rebuild from base form while dodging follow-up attacks. Gohan managed to dodge, but the beam's area effect still disrupted his KI control, and Wonder Woman's divine nature offered no protection, as her godly enhancements were specifically what the construct targeted. In 30 seconds, Darkseid's super weapon had neutralized 4 of the most powerful defenders, and the new god's laughter echoed across dimensions. Did you think I returned without solutions? I am Darkseid. I am adaptation incarnate. Every defeat teaches, every setback refines, and you, warriors from multiple dimensions, have just demonstrated why preparation defeats raw power. His Omega beams, enhanced by the construct's output, fired in patterns impossible to dodge, and the battle that had seemed winnable seconds earlier turned into desperate survival as defenders struggled against technology specifically designed to kill them. But Darkseid had made one critical miscalculation, one oversight born from focusing his preparations on known threats. He'd prepared for Goku, for Superman, for the warriors he'd fought before. But Vegeta had changed in their 6 months apart, had trained with new philosophy, and achieved growth Darkseid's calculations couldn't account for. Vegeta's Super Saiyan second-grade transformation hadn't flickered when the construct fired. His energy signature different enough from Goku's standard Super Saiyan that the harmonic disruptors didn't properly lock on to him, and his tactical mind parsed the situation with cold clarity. The construct was powerful, but stationary, required massive energy input to maintain, and had cooling vents Batman was already highlighting on tactical displays even as the Hellbat armor's systems were failing. One shot, that's what they had. One coordinated strike at maximum power before the construct recalibrated to include Vegeta's unique energy signature. Before Darkseid's forces overwhelmed their collapsing defensive perimeter. Before Superman and Goku recovered enough to contribute. Vegeta's hands came together, blue-white energy gathering between his palms as he drew on every reserve. Every ounce of Saiyan pride and warrior discipline, and that stubborn refusal to let a stone-faced tyrant prove superior. Final flash, the beam erupted with power that had annihilated regenerating monsters and blown whole through perfect beings. But this time, Vegeta wasn't fighting alone. Batman had routed every remaining energy reserve in the Hellbat armor into amplification, creating a gravitational lens that focused Vegeta's attack to a point. The Green Lanterns, recognizing what was needed, added their willpower-based constructs as focusing mechanisms despite their ring-screaming overload warnings, and Martian Manhunter, drawing on telepathic connections across the battlefield, linked every conscious defender's will into a single unified purpose. Break the construct now, together. The amplified final flash struck the construct's cooling vents with precision that belonged in physics textbooks. And for one perfect moment, the superweapon's energy output inverted, fed back into its own systems, and detonated from within in an explosion that vaporized Darkseid's staging dimension entirely, collapsed the portal networks feeding his invasion force, and left the new god floating alone in the void, surrounded by the scattered remains of his carefully calculated conquest. Darkseid stared at his army's annihilation, his superweapons' destruction, and the united front of defenders from multiple dimensions who had adapted faster than his preparations. And for the first time in millennia, his expression carried something beyond arrogance. Acknowledgement. Impressive. The Saiyan prince has grown beyond my calculations. The Kryptonian fights with less restraint. The coordination between dimensions exceeds projected parameters. You have earned continued existence, warriors, but know this. His Omega beams charged one final time, not to attack, but to punctuate his withdrawal. Will return, I always return, and next time I will account for growth, for adaptation, for the variable of warriors who refuse to stop evolving. His boom tube opened, pulling him back toward Apocalypse's slowly rebuilding core, and his final words carried across dimensions like prophecy. We will meet again, Prince Vegeta, and when we do, I will have solved the equation of your pride. Then he was gone, retreating not from defeat, but from tactical disadvantage, and the dimensional space fell silent except for exhausted breathing and the crackle of dissipating energy. Superman recovered first, his Kryptonian healing kicking in as the construct's disruption faded, and he floated to where Vegeta hovered with his transformation finally dropped, the Saiyan prince showing visible exhaustion, but refusing to acknowledge it beyond slightly heavier breathing. That was too close. If you hadn't adapted your transformation, if Batman hadn't coordinated the amplification. Clark didn't finish the thought, because they all knew how it ended. Vegeta's response was characteristic pride tempered with hard-earned wisdom. That's why you called Kryptonian, because your league brings different strengths and my universe brings different power, and together we cover weaknesses neither could address alone. It's... He paused, the word physically difficult, efficient, tactically sound, almost worthy of respect. Goku landed beside them, still grinning despite the construct having nearly killed him, and clapped both Superman and Vegeta on their shoulders with equal enthusiasm. That was amazing. We should do this more often. Maybe set up regular training sessions between dimensions, learn each other's techniques, have tournaments to see who's strongest. Before Vegeta could snap that this wasn't social hour, Batman spoke from within the dying Hellbat armor, his voice strained but carrying command. Goku's suggestion has merit, strategically if not socially. Darkseid will return prepared for today's tactics. Regular coordination between our dimensions, shared training protocols, and tactical integration will give us advantages his calculations can't predict because he can't observe exercises across dimensional barriers. The alliance was formalized there, floating in the void between universes, with debris from Darkseid's defeat drifting around them, the Justice League and Earth's defenders on one side, 3 Saiyans representing their universe's interests on the other, and between them the understanding that multiversal threats required multiversal responses. They established protocols for future contact, emergency beacon activation criteria, and training schedules that Vegeta immediately complained about, but didn't actually refuse because his pride demanded he prove Saiyan superior in every combat scenario the Justice League could devise. Gohan, ever the scholar, exchanged information with Cyborg about dimensional physics and energy manipulation theory. Goku challenged Superman to a friendly spar. Once we've all recovered, that would inevitably become a several-hour battle. Neither could truly win. Wonder Woman discussed warrior philosophy with Vegeta in ways that made the Saiyan prince actually thoughtful, rather than dismissive. And Batman began cataloging every observation, every data point, every tactical insight from today's battle because preparation saved lives, and the next Darkseid would be even more dangerous. When the Saiyans finally departed through Bulma's portal, when the Justice League returned to Earth for recovery and rebuilding, when dimensional barriers sealed and each universe returned to its normal rhythm, something fundamental had changed. They weren't isolated dimensions anymore, protected only by cosmic accident and enemy ignorance. They were allies, forged through combat against a common threat, bound by mutual respect, earned in battle's crucible. 6 months. That's how long Vegeta's unexpected arrival had been ago. Yet its impact resonated across dimensions like ripples from a stone thrown into infinite waters. Earth had faced a Saiyan prince and survived not through overwhelming force, but through demonstrating that strength served purposes beyond conquest. Vegeta had encountered heroes who chose protection over domination and found his worldview challenged in ways even Goku hadn't managed. And when Darkseid returned seeking revenge, when extinction seemed inevitable, when each dimension alone would have fallen, their alliance held. They fought together. They won together. And in doing so, they proved that across infinite realities, across incompatible physics and different philosophies, warriors could choose honor over ambition, cooperation over competition, and forge bonds stronger than any single being's power. Darkseid would return. Tyrants always did. But next time he'd face not isolated dimensions picking their battles alone, but unified defenders who had learned the greatest lesson any warrior could master. True strength wasn't measured in power levels, or heat vision temperature, or omega beam intensity. It was measured in who stood beside you when gods came calling, and whether you'd earned their loyalty through actions rather than demanded it through dominance. Vegeta understood that now. So did Superman, and the multiverse was safer for it. Justice never sleeps. More stories await.